Hey everybody, welcome to Chapter 6. In this chapter, we'll take our first look at scripting. There are several reasons why it's good to learn scripting. For starters, time is money, and scripting will speed up your workflow exponentially by allowing you to automate repetitive tasks. It will also help to improve your debugging skills and overall understanding of rigging and other disciplines. Automating rigs is essential in production workflows. It allows you to quickly rebuild a rig from the ground up. Not only is it faster, but it reduces the amount of human error that can occur. Sometimes, rebuilding a rig is the only way to fix a problem. If you're working on a deadline and cannot easily do that, you may find yourself in a tight spot. Before we can dive into Python, we first need to take a look at MEL, or Maya Embedded Language. Everything you do in Maya can be transposed into MEL. Basically, every button you press in Maya's GUI can be represented by a MEL command. You can use MEL to access hidden layers of the program that cannot be accessed through the GUI. I won't be covering how to write MEL in this course, but we will take a look at a few snippets of code and learn how to use the script editor to execute commands. So let's start there. Open up your script editor by pressing this icon in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. I've docked my script editor to my channel box area over here. This top part is your history. Here you can scroll through all the commands you've run, either by clicking around in Maya or executing scripts. This bottom pane is where you write all your MEL or Python code. You can add new tabs for either scripting language. Each tab contains its own script. Many people, and I'm definitely guilty here too, are known to have a bunch of these tabs open at once, and not one of them will have a unique name. Don't be like us. Give your tabs a descriptive name. Up here under command, you can rename your tabs. I've just launched a fresh Maya, so let's look at what was returned. I'm going to click in this window, press Ctrl A to select all, Ctrl C to copy, and then Ctrl V to paste it down here. Okay, wow, that's a lot of red. Most scripting languages have a way for the author to add comments. In this case, Maya is giving you information about what's happening. Comments are basically just notes that are not interpreted by the program. It's a great way to help organize your script. It also makes it easier for somebody else to read your script and figure out what's going on. Always make comments about what you're doing. In MEL, a comment is represented by this double /. Anything after that is colored red and becomes a descriptive note. In my first line, we have the word file in blue. File is a command. Most editors have some form of syntax or command highlighting. Each color represents a different aspect of the coding language. You can customize these colors by going to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Color Settings, and at the bottom, you can edit the script editor colors. If I press Ctrl and use my scroll wheel, I can enlarge the text. Commands in Maya usually come along with different flags or arguments. We can see two of them here, -f and -new. There are many things you can do with the file command. F stands for force, meaning it will not require you to save any changes. -new stands for new scene, so basically this will make a new file rather than import or reference one, and it will do that even if you have unsaved changes. I'm just going to create an object really quick. Now let's see what happens if I remove this flag and run this line of code without saving. There are a couple ways to execute your code in the script editor. This button with two triangles will run everything in the tab you have open. The single triangle button will run only what you have selected unless you have nothing selected at all. I'll probably get an error if I click this. Because I have unsaved changes, if I select this and hit execute, I'll get an error. But now, if I put the flag -f back in here, and then select my command and hit run, it will force create a new scene. Sometimes our history gets very long and it becomes hard to find things. To clear it, you can press this button up here. The button to the right will remove everything in your input panel down here. And of course, this button will clear both, though we no longer have anything to clear. In the next lesson, we will watch what happens in the script editor as we build and manipulate objects in the viewport. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you over there. Hey, welcome back. In this lesson, we'll learn how to create a macro using MEL. A macro is like a script, but we won't have to write the code ourselves. We'll be watching the program generate the code. As it provides us with commands, we will copy that down in our script editor. When we play it back, we should get the same results as everything we did when clicking around in Maya. Let me show you an example. I'm just going to start creating things and then moving them around in the viewport here. Just duplicate the sphere. I'm going to put a sphere on every point of our grid using snap to X with X. Accidentally hit C there, but that's okay. Snap that. All right, I'm just going to copy this Control C, Control V to paste. And this is exactly what I did. So if I do a new scene, Control N, I'm not going to save it, and run this, we get the exact same thing that I did manually. We have a lot of commands here that we don't really need. So if we just break this down a little bit into different movements, I can see kind of what we're doing here. I'm duplicating and then moving a sphere. It says it right there. I don't really need these. It's kind of extraneous information. It's where I activated the snap tool, and I'm going to get rid of that. So it's creating our sphere, moving it, duplicating it, moving it, duplicating, moving it, so on. I'm just going to do a little cleanup here in the input window. I know I don't need some of these lines to get the results I want. When you do this, you should run one line at a time to see what is essential. Let's say I wanted to change the shape of the last sphere I created. I could right-click, go to Vertex, select one of them, press W to move, and B to turn on my soft selection. And if I just drag this up, I change the shape. It spits out some information here. I can now copy this down over here. Control C, Control V. Now, if you remember the command from earlier, File, -F-new. Now every time I run this, it will be a new scene. Also, it's a good thing to mention that in Mel, at the end of every line, you need a semicolon, at least in most cases. This will register a new line. Let's go ahead and run this all together now. So if I hit return, same thing. So just to prove my point, it actually did run, and I get the same thing here. What would happen if I select one of these vertexes and turn off my soft selection by pressing B again? And if I run this, we don't get the same result. But I didn't see anything happen when I turned on soft selection. Just running it again. To get the same vertex again, I'm just going to select, copy this over here up to this bar, which is select by name. There's some other things you can do here, but I almost always have select by name turned on, and paste that there. Now we have the same vertex selected, turn off soft selection, run my command, and then it does not have it. So what do we do when we can't see the callback of a specific command in Maya? Usually then I go up here and clear my history just to get a fresh palette, and turn on echo all commands. This will give us a lot more information than we're used to seeing returned, and most of the time it's there's good reason for that. But sometimes you want to go through and find a specific command. So if I turn on my soft select, I get, whoa, just a lot of stuff that happened. Next thing I'll do is turn off echo all commands to prevent any more nonsense from being returned here. It's not nonsense, but let's sift through it all. So I'm just going to paste this here. And I do this so I can see the syntax color highlighting. And I want to find something that's related to soft selection. I have to scroll down. Yeah. This one. So it says soft selection. So really all this other stuff we can get rid of. That's the command that is going to be useful here. Just delete all that. We can get rid of this one and copy this just before we move after selecting the vertex. So soft selection enabled equals 1. And then we can turn it off afterwards if we wanted. Now if we run, it does the soft selection. So even if it's off right now, we run it, still soft select. Before moving on to the next chapter, try building your own macro command. It can be anything. It doesn't have to make sense, just as long as it does something. I dug up my first macro from 2012 when I started to learn scripting. When I run the code, it builds the scene. And when I hit play, we get this, a sphere colliding with a bunch of donut-shaped particles. Not entirely useful, but hey, it does something. When you build your macro, try to add comments. It makes it easier to go back in and know what you're doing. For instance, I'm creating a new file, I'm setting my playback range from 1 to 300, I'm building an emitter, I'm setting the scale on the emitter, I'm making a keyframe to turn it on and then off, I'm putting some dynamic particle settings in, I'm making the donut, I'm instancing that to the particles, I make a little rotation expression, and make my dynamic collider, and select it, and then set some keyframes to animate it. If you're not sure what some of these commands or arguments do, there's an easy way to find out. Right-click the command and go to Quick Help. You'll have this window show up. So to find out what -r means, I can see here it says radius. Let's make our sphere larger by changing the radius. I didn't know this until recently, but you can actually double-click these arguments to add it into your command. I've just added the subdivision command so we can lower the resolution on our collider. Now when we run this, the size and the shape of our sphere has changed. You can press F1 to open up Maya's help. Scroll down to the technical documentation mel commands. It's easiest just to search for the command you're looking for. Then you can find it on the left and open it here. Now we have detailed information about all the arguments. We scroll down to the bottom, we can see information usage and examples. You can actually just copy this and paste it directly to see what it does in Maya. There are too many commands and arguments to memorize, so I constantly find myself searching here or simply asking my trusty friend, Google. Go ahead and see what you can come up with. In the next lesson, we'll learn how we can add our script to the shelf for easy access. Happy scripting, and I'll see you soon. Hey everyone, welcome back. In this lesson, I will go over how to install the shelf that I'm creating for this class. I have not finished capturing all the material at this time, so when you install this, it may look slightly different, but the steps will be the same. If you notice, my NM Rig Shelf tab is no longer up here with the rest of them. That's because I deleted my Maya user preferences to demonstrate how you can install the shelf on your end. First, let's go ahead and close Maya. On the left, I have opened a file explorer where my Maya version user directory lives. On the right, we have the course materials for this chapter. We're just going to copy over some files. So if I go into icons, I'm going to drag select and copy and go into my press icons folder and paste them here. Now let's go back up a directory and go into our shelves folder, and we want to copy over this shelf mel script. So if I copy that and paste it here, and then the last one is going to be this scripts folder. So if I copy this and then go up one directory to the Maya version number you're using, we'll paste nmrig to the scripts directory here, not the one in your press folder. And now if we launch Maya, we should see the shelf. So now I've launched a new Maya, and we have our shelf that I've loaded here. Now that you know how to load in a shelf from somewhere else, let's start customizing your own shelf tab. The way I like to do this is select everything that I want to add to the shelf in my editor. So Control A to select all, or if it's just part of a script, you can actually do that, but I want my entire macro. So I'll do Control A, then middle mouse drag, or you can use this button, add to shelf, and you can even name it. So macro, and add that. It gives it a label. Go ahead and click on that, and it runs our script. You can edit your scripts in the shelf by going to the shelf editor. And here you have a lot of different options. We could give this one a nice name. Let's call it particle macro. And can give it a tooltip. We can say create sphere particle thing. You can give it a new label, particle macro, and you can change the color, do all sorts of things. I also like to add some commonly used Maya operations to my shelf. It's very easy to do. Let's add two of the ones I use the most. If I go to modify, freeze transformations, don't click it, press Control and then Shift and then click it. Now that adds, and I also want to add delete by type history. So Control, Shift, and click, and now I have these here, and I can use them whenever I want. On your own, try to make some useful macros and personalize the shelf. In the next chapter, the real fun begins. Together, we'll take an introductory look at Python. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next chapter.